This video was sponsored by Kiwi Co. Today we're going to be learning about the physics of high-speed card throwing. This is Rick Smith Jr. He holds 8 world records for card throwing, including accuracy, speed, and distance. But how is this possible? What are the physics behind keeping a card flying through the air over long distances like this, when most of us fail miserably at getting a card to even fly a few feet? A few weeks ago, I read a paper called Beermats Make Bad Frisbees. In this study, scientists at the Helmholtz Institute of Radiation and Nuclear Physics explained the techniques that could make coasters, or beer mats as they call them, fly the furthest when they're thrown. They suggested that to throw cards or coasters the furthest, you should throw them with a backspin, meaning that they should rotate backwards to the direction of flight. However, there is a problem. The world record holder, who can throw a coaster and a card longer than anyone else, starts off by throwing the cards in the opposite direction with a topspin. So I knew there was something interesting going on that I had to investigate. Okay, Rick, can you show me how to throw a card?
So I'm gonna give you the basic way of throwing a playing card.
Okay.
Left hand, hold the card up. Right hand, make scissors. Cut the top of the card off. Thumb on top.
Hey, look at that.
You gotta, I quit, I'm out.
So one of the main keys to throwing a card is spinning it. You've probably noticed that when you throw any flat object, it helps to keep it stable if you spin it. The stability comes from angular momentum. This is why when you try to balance a disc without it spinning, it easily falls over. But if you spin the disc, it can balance without falling. However, even spinning discs eventually fall, but they do so differently than non-spinning discs. When they fall, they don't just tip over, they move in a circle. This movement is called precession. So let's look at the forces a spinning disc or card experiences when moving through the air. When you throw a disc, even at a flat angle, it creates a lift force because the disc is falling through the air, making the air hit the disc at an angle from below. This generates a force at the front of the disc. If the disc weren't spinning, this would cause it to pivot up into the wind. But when you have a spinning disc, something different happens. It produces a torque, causing it to pivot sideways. Let me show you what I mean with a gyroscope. When I push up from below, it pivots and turns into the direction it's spinning. On a real disc, you can see this happening as well. So if I throw a disc starting flat and rotate it in the clockwise direction, it'll naturally turn on its side to the right while keeping its clockwise rotation. Now it's on its side, so the spin is called a backspin, meaning the top of the disc moves in the opposite direction to its forward motion. If I throw it with a counterclockwise spin, it pivots up to the left, resulting in a backspin as well. This means that no matter how you spin a disc or card when you throw it, it'll always naturally move toward a backspin rotation. And when the object is in a backspin, this creates lift through something called the Magnus effect. Since the top of the disc is dragging air in the direction of the moving object, that fluid moves faster on top than on the bottom, resulting in lower pressure on the top. This causes the disc to lift in the upward direction. So backspin is the most stable state for a card or disc. But if that's true, why is it that when Rick Smith does his longest throws, he puts a topspin on it? Well, let's see if we can see what benefits a topspin would have in a real throw. By starting with a topspin, it initially places the card in a metastable state. Eventually this topspin becomes unstable and the card now goes to a flat angle. But once it's in that flat angle, it continues its natural progression back into a backspin. So overall, this gives the card way more time in a stable or metastable state than if you just started in backspin. And it also maximizes the time that it can be flat in the air, generating lift up in the air. Now, Rick Smith Jr. has truly perfected the art of card throwing. Once these cards are in the air, they can really do some damage. Watch how they can slice through anything with precision. It literally cuts as though it were a razor blade. But how could a playing card with such little mass cut through things with so much force? Now, before we continue, I want to talk to you about where I got my happy disc here. This is actually Jupiter, and I borrowed it from my son's Kiwi Co box. Kiwi Co sends monthly crates packed with hands-on projects that spark curiosity and creativity. My kids absolutely love these boxes.
Ooh, what's in this packet?
I love Kiwi Co boxes because they're designed to make kids think for themselves while also providing them with what they need. They get to build and design the projects from start to finish, so they know exactly how it's working and how to troubleshoot it with any problems they have in the future. They're also really fun to play with. Look how cool this marble maze kit is that my son built from scratch, connecting all the wires and putting the pieces exactly where they need to go. One of the things I love about Kiwi Co is that they cater to all ages, from babies to teenagers. For the youngest ones, there's the Panda crate, which focuses on sensory play and early development. But for older kids, there are crates that dive into more complex topics like engineering challenges and creative arts. So literally anyone can enjoy their kits. On their website, you can see all the options they have with their different clubs. I especially like this Labs club that focuses on STEM subjects. I'm always looking for ways to get my kids doing hands-on learning projects, and Kiwi Co has so many different affordable kits that focus on a variety of STEM subjects. So if you want to give Kiwi Co a try, you can use code ActionLab for 50% off your first month of the monthly line. And thanks to Kiwi Co for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to our experiment. We went over the aerodynamics of card throwing, but there's also another puzzling effect that happens when he slices through things. For example, let's watch him throw some cards into a thick styrofoam target in between my fingers. Hopefully these go in between my fingers.
Ready?
Yep. No way. You can see that the cards got pushed deeply into the styrofoam. In some cases, it even penetrated through. But if I just try to push the cards into the styrofoam, I can't do it. So why is that the case? Well, one obvious reason is that when I push the card slowly, it bends, spreading out the force over a larger area. But when the card is moving fast, all the particles have forward momentum in the card, so there's no bending moment. So that definitely adds to it, but there's also more going on here besides just bending. I wanted to see how much impact force Rick could generate with the cards, so I had him throw them at a scale and I measured the force created upon impact. If you watch in slow motion, you can see how high the impact is. I used an analog scale to avoid any delays or filtering of the sudden force. And you can see that the force jumps to 350 gram force. That's pretty impressive considering that a single card by itself weighs only 1.6 grams. However, when I simply add a constant 350 grams of force to a card, I can't get it to cut through anything. Now, mostly this is because the card is bending. But let's say I take something that's more stiff, like this razor blade. I can push on it with the scale and show that it takes way more than 350 grams to get it to penetrate the styrofoam here. We max it out, and then I'm just putting all my force on it. It's really hard to get it through. But Rick Smith did that easily with the cards. So what's the difference here? When I apply a steady force, the movement is slow, giving everything time to move out of the way and spread out the force. But in contrast, when things move fast, they behave much more like brittle materials. They fracture and break at much lower forces than they would normally. This allows for fast-moving objects to slice through things at lower forces than slow-moving ones. This includes your skin and fingers.
Some people say that the carrot is the same consistency as a finger. Watch carrot. See, that could have been your finger.
Glad that wasn't my finger. Before we end, I want to thank Devin Supertramp for helping me capture the amazing slow motion shots in this video. He's actually working on an incredible X-Men video featuring Rick Smith as Gambit. It should be pretty cool. If you want to check it out, I'll put the link to his channel in my description. And of course, thanks to Rick Smith for helping me learn how to throw cards and understand the science behind being the best card thrower in the world. Be sure to go subscribe to his YouTube channel as well. I'll put a link to it in my description. And thanks for watching another episode of the Action Lab, and we'll see you next time.